And someone said, hey, can you make a strawberry banana mead? And I said, I'll do one better. We'll make a strawberry banana hydromel. If you don't know what a hydromel is a lower ABV mead. Some people call it a session mead. Usually it's carbonated, but it doesn't have to be. There's a lot of variations, and let's not get caught up in names. Let's just go with, it's a strawberry banana lower ABV meant to be served cold sparkling beverage.
Oh, so this is going to be carbonated? You're carbonated?
Oh yeah, we're carbonating this one too.
Oh, right. Okay.
Carbonate everything. Carbonate all the things. But anyway, so we have our scale handy, and I have fixed our scale. For those of you who've been watching for a long time, this exact scale, the My Way Baker scale, there is a way to turn off the auto off function, so it won't time out. So you can sit there and pour 1 drop of honey at a time all day if you really want to, and it's never going to go off. You will drain your batteries though, so you want to be careful with that.
All right, so being that this is a hydromel, we don't need quite as much honey as we would typically in a traditional style mead.
Normally, we like to use anywhere from 2 to 3 pounds, sometimes a little more than 3 pounds of honey. For this, I want to keep the ABV under 10%, so I'm going with 1.5 pounds of honey. I could go higher, I could go a little bit lower.
So we gotta switch our mode.
You want it to be on pounds.
Pounds, ounces, or just pounds?
Just straight pounds. Because we want 1.5 pounds.
1.5, all right.
I can put the grams right here when I edit the video, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. It's like 780 something, I think. 787? I don't know. I'll put it here. So, 1.5 pounds. You ready?
Ready.
You're supposed to watch the top.
Oh. Why is a short person watching?
She watches the top so it doesn't overflow. I watch the bottom so that we get the right number. It's kind of terrifying sometimes because we've overflowed it. That's how we know to do that.
All right, you're at the bend at the low side.
Oh, I'm at the bend? Okay. We're at 1.33 pounds too. Okay, so a little bit about the honey while the rest of it drains out of the funnel. By the way, everything got tared out. So all the honey that's in there has actually been weighed and measured and not found wanting. It needs to all get into the container. But the honey we are using today is Kirkland Wildflower honey. We've actually started using this recently a lot because honey's been harder to get, so some of our normal suppliers don't have it. So we've been using something that should be easily available for most of our audience. We like to use things that are easily available for most of our audience, okay? That's important. So we may not use the most exotic ingredients all the time, but we do use things that you can get.
We're also aware that our audience is international, so if you don't have availability to a Kirkland Wildflower honey, then any wildflower honey regional to you, local to you,
it's going to be pretty close.
Will be just fine.
Every region has its own honeys and varietals, and they're going to taste a little bit different, but this is going to be a flavored mead, so the exact type of honey isn't as crucial. I'm not saying it won't make a difference, but it's not as important as if we were making like a straight traditional. Then yeah, that's what your flavor's coming from. Whereas this, the banana and the strawberry, should add a lot of flavor to this. So we'll find out from there. But anyway.
If for some bizarre reason you have no wildflower honey available to you whatsoever, clover honey will be just fine.
Actually, you could even use orange blossom for this because the citrusy little bit combined with strawberry actually would probably be beneficial too. That would have been my second choice, really. Okay, so what I want to do is add some water to this.
So I have 112 fluid ounces here of water measured out.
And what kind of water is this?
This is our filtered water. We have over here a Berkey filtration system, which is really awesome because it's not electric. It's just a natural flow double container filter system.
You can basically collect rainwater with it. It's just awesome.
Yeah, the test that they have to make sure that everything is set up is you actually put food dye in it to see if any of the color comes through.
And it doesn't come through.
It's pretty crazy. It's impressive.
They're not cheap, but they last forever. Like we should get, what, 5 to 10 years on these filters.
Yeah.
So to me, it's worthwhile. For us being in Florida, it's actually really important because they always say, oh, collect a bunch of water before a storm. Well, ours is 6 gallons. So we got 6 gallons of drinkable water right there. And if you put some into containers, you can have even more. Yeah. But we'll have a link to that in the description if you're interested. We find it to be possibly the best solution for filtering. There are plenty of ways. We used to do the RO, reverse osmosis, and it just became less than convenient for us. So that's why we did away with that.
But as far as water selection for your particular brew goes, you want to make sure that you can avoid chlorine if at all possible. If your tap water is heavily chlorinated, you can pour it into a vessel, just let it sit out overnight because chlorine is a gas and most of it will come out.
Except that most areas don't actually use chlorine anymore. Somebody told me this. They use chloramine. I looked into it and they're right. Chloramine actually doesn't evaporate out.
Oh.
So you can't really do that anymore.
Boo.
If that's the case, go to your local grocery store and buy some drinking water.
Yeah.
Okay, I am getting ready. I started already. I put in the thumb saver bung, which is just a bung that doesn't have a hole in it, and I'm going to shake the bejesus out of it. By the way, if anybody gets offended by my use of the word bejesus, it's got no connotation to anything other than it's just a funny word. That's exactly how I see it. If you see it as something else, I am sorry, but that is not the intent. Just saying. I might have to edit that out. Now, when we shake it, notice I only fill it halfway. There's a good reason. I want to be able to shake it up first, because when you have that much space, it shakes much easier. And second, I want to get some of that air jammed in there. You see it already? It's changing color. And why do we want air?
We want air because at the beginning of a fermentation, our yeast, as we're using dry yeast, needs to rehydrate, get built up, and create a colony. And by that, I mean they're reproducing. Now, yeasts don't need to get together to reproduce. They actually reproduce all on their onesies.
Mitosis.
But they do need oxygen in order to complete that process.
Actually, it's budding, isn't it?
I don't know what the technical word.
I thought it was cellular mitosis, but it could be budding. Somebody will tell me. So yeah, beginning, oxygen good. Once alcohol present, oxygen bad. This looks pretty well mixed. I have a general rule of thumb for mixing. When you think you've gone enough, go 2 more minutes. It's hard to overmix. I don't think you can. Except when your arms fall off, then you've overmixed. So go just to the point where your arms are about to fall off, and then stop. All right, anyway. So this is a pretty simple recipe. And by simple, I mean like it's really, really simple. So what we're gonna do is get our funnel back.
Do you want to put your mixture in before you
I'm gonna pour it into that.
You're gonna pour your mixture into this?
Into the funnel.
Right, yes, we're saying the same thing. We do this all the time. We say the same thing, just different ways.
Yep. So what I have here, the mixture, as she called it, this is Fermaid O. This is yeast nutrient. And I have 5 grams of it in a little bit of water, just like maybe 2 ounces. I let it sit for a while because it tends to be clumping and it's clumped up still. I can't break it up. It does this thing, okay? It bothers me. It will eventually break down, but I got 5 grams and just a little bit of water here. I know that's higher than the manufacturer suggested, but we've learned from some of our viewers that more Fermaid O really isn't a bad thing. It really doesn't add a weird flavor. It's good for the yeast. What?
Now, you had talked about adding your yeast to that.
Yeah.
Have you decided not to?
I decided not to.
Okay.
We have come to the conclusion that it's not necessary to...
Prehydrate.
That's the word. We don't need to hydrate our yeast. I was going to just throw the yeast into here and then dump the whole thing in there because it helps it to keep from getting on the side, but I'm not sure that it really does. So today, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to pour this right in. Can I have the water, please?
I was going to pour, but then
That's
I'm
right.
like, you probably need to pour because control.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to fill it the rest of the way with water. We did pre-measure the amount of water, but we put in the 2 ounces that was in here. So I'm not sure that I'm going to use all the water that she had in there. By the way, the amount of water that we figured out is to a full gallon. And literally all I did was, I know that 3 pounds of honey takes up 32 fluid ounces of space. So 1.5 pounds of honey should be 16. So 128 minus 16 is 112. Simple. But I got foam. And look at that. It's right down to that last 2 ounces.
All right, well.
It's all right. I'm going to do it. I'm getting it in there.
You still got to get the yeast in.
I know. I'm working on it. Okay. I'm not putting that last bit in. That's it. Give up. Okay, that foam that's in there is just air bubbles. So it's nothing to worry about. But we are going to add our yeast now.
Do you want to
I want to take a
stir
reading
that
first.
mix it, and then take a reading before adding the yeast.
Yes. We might sound like we're all kinds of discombobulated today. It's because maybe to a point we are. But this is a very basic recipe, so it's like I'm skipping ahead, not meaning to. So basically, we're just creating our must today. I know what you're saying. There's no strawberries or bananas. Not yet. They're coming. You got to keep watching for them. What we're going to do now is take a reading. Go ahead and let go. It's okay.
I didn't want it to drop.
And I'm aiming for something like 1.050-ish, because we get about 35 points. We get 1.035 for 1 pound of honey in a gallon. So that means the next half would add 17 more, so 35, 45, 50. About 1.052 is pretty much where we should end up, which, like I say, will give us somewhere in the neighborhood of like 7 to 8% ABV when it's all fermented out. It's about good. 1.052, just as expected. Funny how when you measure things right, they work out. Had I put that last little bit of water in there, it'd have been less. So I'm going to dump this in. Actually, you know what? Hold that.
I'm holding this.
Yep. We're going to be using Premier Côte de Blanc yeast by Red Star. And of course, this is one that I have to cut it because it's a terrible, non-terrible packet. I know, it's, okay, people think I'm actually offended. I'm really not, it's just a joke. I just do that. But I do actually prefer a tearable packet, something that I can tear open. These are coated with foil, and I know they're supposed to be better and all that sort of thing. I get it, but I just like to make the joke. Anyway, so I'm gonna use about a half of this because this is a lower ABV, we don't need the whole thing, and we have a good amount of yeast nutrient in there. So I'm just gonna eyeball half. One packet does up to about 5 gallons, so, you know, a little more, a little less is totally okay. That looks pretty good. And I was saving that as like a swisher to clean it out in case I messed up, which I really didn't this time. By the way, everything here has been sanitized in
the red bucket of sanitization.
Now, what I mean by that is, it is literally a big red bucket over there filled with sanitizer fluid. Our sanitizer fluid of choice is Star San. You want to sanitize everything. Now, don't get insane about it. You don't have to go totally nuts. You don't have to like sanitize the cat and the cupboards and the ceiling and the carpet and the bottom of your foot. And, you know, don't get crazy about it, but do the best you can. These towels that we use on the table only get used for brewing. So they are in and out of sanitizer fluid all the time. They get washed separately from everything else. The chances of infection from the towel is slim to none, contrary to what some people like to think. Then we have all of our equipment. That's all kept separately. It gets cleaned separately. It gets sanitized. So it's important to stay as clean and sanitized as you can, but you don't have to obsess over it. And one very, very important thing, sanitizing is not a guarantee of no infection, but also not sanitizing is not a guarantee of infection. Because I've had a few people recently say, oh, I forgot to sanitize this one piece of equipment. Should I dump out my brew? Well, no, let it ride. Find out what happened. I mean, probably going to be okay. Infection is just that. It means, was there a microbe present at the time that you didn't sanitize that thing? That's it. That's how it turns out, okay? So don't get crazy, just do the best you can. But anyway, I'm missing something.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to pause so I could go get it.
Okay, so now we are at the stage where put an airlock on it. My yeast is still just sitting on top of the foam, so I just want to kind of work it around here. Hold this for a second.
Wiggle it just a little bit.
Yep, she said it. It'll get in there. I just like to make sure, because sitting on that foam for a while, who knows, you know, maybe they won't be as happy. I don't know. All right. Probably going to need a rubber band on this one. I think this is just a little bit too big. Some of these fermenters are from apple juice, some are actual fermenters, so they're slightly different in size. And I can't really tell the difference because they all have threads and they're all very similar. So, yeah. Anyway, so what are we going to do with this now?
We're going to let it sit, but we're going to let it sit on a tray because we did get a little kind of foamy up here.
Green.
And if the yeast starts getting really happy, it'll create more foam on top of that foam and perhaps push out the airlock and create a big mess. So if you put it on a cookie sheet that has edges to catch any overflow, then it'll be in your tray rather than all over your kitchen.
Also, if it gets way too happy and I end up having to clean out this airlock more than, say, twice in the next day, I'm just going to remove the airlock and put what's called a blow-off tube. We actually have videos on that, but it is just a section of tubing going into like a mason jar filled with sanitizer fluid. But in the meantime, this is going to go sit on the tray and then go into our fermentation station, and we'll see you when fermentation is complete. It has been 28 days, exactly 4 weeks. Don't ask me why it's been 4 weeks, it's just been 4 weeks, okay? It's probably been ready for a little while longer than that, but look at this. It's crystal clear, but we do have this beautiful moonscape that I need to show you.
Look at that. I am so excited about these things, and I nerd out about this. A nice compact yeast cake with a beautiful texture, and I thought, that just has to be some weirdness of mine. But no, one of our VIPs, Jared Lojek, actually shares this fascination of what I term the moonscape. So there you go, Jared. Isn't that a thing of beauty?
I think they're both just a little bit nuts, but that's just me. Anyway, so it is beautifully crystal clear, and we do have a nice Lee's cake on the bottom there. So I'm going to take the airlock off, and we're going to take its first reading, because we haven't taken a reading on this yet.
Right.
We did have a 1.052 original gravity, because it's a hydromel. It's not meant to be super high. So let's see where it's at. I have a feeling it went dry. Just a thought. And we're amending some of our rules. We have the 1 week rule, take 2 readings. My personal feeling on it is, if it's something that we're going to carbonate, this is an exception, because this one's going to get weird. But more on that later. But if it's something we're going to carbonate, I would probably just take 1 reading, and if it's 1.000 or below that, move forward, because waiting is only going to harm your chances of carbonation. That's one of the theories that we have, so we're working off of that right now. Because the yeast go dormant, they get racked out, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff can happen. Blah, 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 that's my thing. Okay, so there's a lot of effervescence here, there's a lot of bubbles, it's very gassy. However, it's also a 0.992. It is dry.
I have to admit, I kind of feel bad that we're continuing with this beverage, because that clarity is something to behold.
Yeah, it is
beautifully clear.
Here, let me see if I can give you a better idea of the clarity. Let me hold that up to the light. Look at that. I mean, that, can you see that? Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep it on the same plane as our faces. So.
Well, if you put something behind it, like you can totally see. It's
there's my hand behind it.
Fantastic.
I mean, look at that. That's amazing. Anyway, enough about the clarity. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in a little big mouth bubbler. And you might be wondering, don't you usually worry about headspace? Well, we did say this is a strawberry banana hydromel, right?
And we don't have any strawberry nor banana yet.
Yet, being the operative word there. So what we're going to do is rack to this first. Actually, no, we're not, because that would be dumb. We're going to do something else first. We have here
Dole strawberry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dole sliced strawberries and bananas, which is perfect for smoothies. Or, in our case, perfect for hydromels.
It actually happened to be 5 8-ounce bags. So it's 2.5 pounds of banana and strawberry. So it's a mix, but it's okay.
It's a frozen mix, so that was why we chose it, because we knew regardless of where you were in the world, if you could find frozen strawberry and bananas, you can make this mead. And
it's still frozen.
Which is a good thing.
Can you move this over here?
I can't.
Please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Still frozen, but that doesn't really matter. We could have let it thaw a little, but frozen, they don't leak out all over the place.
Make a big mess.
And make a big mess. But don't worry that it's frozen, because I have plans. Oh yeah, I have plans. But it's going to take me a little while to do this, so we'll be back. Okay, so now we have all of that frozen fruit in there. I happen to know it's going to add some pectin, especially when I pasteurize it. It's going to definitely create more of the pectin and more haze. So we're going to add some pectic enzyme. And because it's already been fermented, I'm going to use double. So I'm going to use 1 whole teaspoon of pectic enzyme. And I'm putting it in right on top of this fruit so that as we put the hydromel on top of it, it mixes it through. It'll also help break down that fruit just a little bit more.
Can you add that to our notes, please?
And now we're going to rack this right onto that fruit. By the way, the reason why I said it was stupid to do it the other way is because what if we have more hydromel than room? Yeah, would have been bad. I couldn't put all the fruit in. I'd rather have all the fruit in and we'll drink some of the hydromel if there's too much. You know, benefits of being a brewer.
We got too much going on here.
Okay, you know what? Because this is going to get racked again. I don't know. I'm undecided. It's one heck of a Lee's cake down there. I think I'll leave the cap on. It's a judgment call. Just go halfway down. And get it started. We started?
We started.
All right. Just seemed to take a while. We had someone recently who purchased an auto siphon and they said it was a cheapy one from eBay after a while, but they were having problems where it would not work straight out of the box. So be careful on the auto siphons that you buy. The ones that we get, the Firmtech ones, have been great. We've never had a problem with any of our auto siphons, and some of these we've had for, you know, a couple of years, and they're not expensive, but they do a really, really great job. So when we put a link to something, it's not just oh yeah, let's make a couple pennies by selling this thing. It's nope, we used it. We think it's good. It worked really well for us. That's why we put a link to it so that it can help someone else too.
One of the things you want to take in consideration with your auto siphon in particular, its gaskets, what makes it work, are rubber, and they're soft rubber. So if you keep it in your sanitization liquid beyond the 2-minute recommendation, you may start to degrade those gaskets, and that's going to cause you problems. So just keep an eye on that.
I had a series of bubbles right here, and my OCD was bothered. So that's what you saw me doing just then. I'm gonna get close to the bottom. I like to tip it like this with a good solid Lee's cake like this where it fell out really nice. You don't have to worry about it, and I can probably get almost all of this liquid out as long as we have space for it. Okay, so we did have a little bit of loss, but if you look at this, that is like peanut butter, okay? I don't really want to drink that. I know some people get really offended when I say things like that, and they will run it through a coffee filter, they will filter it and all kinds of stuff. To me, that's just a couple of ounces. It's not enough to worry about, but if you want to go and salvage that, you certainly can. I don't really have a good way to do it because I've never really bothered with it. But next, what are we going to do with this? We are going to put a lid on it and an airlock, because what's going to happen now is we're going to pasteurize this, the whole thing, okay? Let me explain why. If we didn't, here's what would happen. That fruit's going to ferment, and we're going to get more alcohol, and it's going to create more CO2, but it's going to deplete the freshness of that fruit that we really want. So my concept is we're going to pasteurize this completely. Then that also sanitizes the fruit, makes everything safe and healthy, and all kinds of, you know, people don't get mad at us for not sanitizing stuff. And then after that, we'll set it up for carbonation, but that's later on in the video. Just keep watching and we'll show you how we're going to do it. The pasteurization method, we actually have videos on that, and we're going to be using a sous vide or an immersion circulator. And what I do is I get the internal temperature up to 140 degrees and hold it there for 20 minutes. Now, in this case, that means the fruit and everything has to get up to that temperature so everything gets pasteurized.
So because of the fruit being frozen, it is going to take longer for us to reach that temperature, but we have all the time in the world, right?
But I'm not going to show you all that on video because that's just way too long. Once it's done, I'm going to take it out of the water, let it cool, and let it sit for like 2 weeks. That's it. That's all we're going to do. That's the only part you're not going to see. And then we'll show you once it's cooled and sat for 2 weeks in about 2 seconds. This has been sitting for, about 3 weeks on the fruit. We wanted to get as much out of it as you can. Some people say it's done in a week. Some people say a month. I think 2 to 3 weeks is probably sufficient. I also wanted to give that pectic enzyme a little time to work because, as you can see, it's still a little bit cloudy. Now, ultimate clarity is not that important to us, but we don't want it to be like soup. You know, I like pea soup and all, but I really don't want it in my mead.
So luckily, all of our fruit fell, but we pasteurized it, so it was good to go.
Yeah, that's the thing. This has been pasteurized, so it's inert. Nothing's going to happen. We're good. Do we want to take a final reading just to be on the safe side? Yeah, because we added the fruit. We don't really know how much of that extracted into the liquid. This is more a curiosity than anything. It was at 0.992 last we looked at it. So let's just see. Just for S's and G's, you know? because I don't say those things on camera. Ooh, boy, did that clear out.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's lovely.
In the fermenter, it's hard to see sometimes. I smell strawberry.
Yeah. I think this is going to surprise us pleasantly, so.
It ain't floating. Now, here's the thing. There's a little bit of sugars that are in the fruit, okay? And I'm thinking that some of it leached into the liquid. That's all we're measuring at this point, not really changing the... Oh, yeah, it definitely did. It's at 1.00... Well, let me get rid of those bubbles and be more precise here. 1.004. So we actually leached out about 12 points worth of sugars from the fruit, which is like almost about a quarter pound of sugars. So that's pretty impressive. Wow, that's actually really amazing. Because 2.5 pounds of fruit had a quarter. Yeah, okay, cool. But that's natural sweetening. So we may not need to sweeten this quite as much as we might have before. So we'll find out more soon. When we were
contemplating what we were going to do with this, we had some preconceived ideas and directions of where we're going. And then
meaning me.
And then we started thinking about it, and that we being me, and thinking, okay, so this is strawberry banana. I really don't envision a strawberry banana flavor combination being carbonated. What am I doing?
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, I had envisioned that we're going to use non-fermentable sugars and we're going to prime it and carbonate. Or we could force carb. Either way. And she says, I don't really want that carbonated. Well, okay. That changes it. Changes the paradigm just slightly.
So we came up with other ideas of where we might want to go, and then we decided the best route would be to taste it.
Yep.
And then decide.
Now, something else of note. We started at 1.052, ended at 0.992. That comes out to about 7.8% of ABV. So it's almost a wine. We're calling this a hydromel because it's on the lighter side of a real mead, but it is almost a wine. From a preservation standpoint, I like to see 10, but it's not uber critical. And all things considered, if it's packaged properly and everything, it should still last years on the shelf, no problem. So we're going to taste it and see where we go. And I like that organic form of recipe making. Also, keep in mind, our videos are instructional. We're meant to teach you a lot of things, not make this thing. It's more of, here's how you work around this problem. Here's how you fix that problem. Here's what to do when you have 2.5 pounds of mixed fruit and you don't know what to do with it.
All right, so I've mentioned more than once when fermenting strawberries that they leach their color. And Brian wanted to show you, but I did because I wanted you to see there's strawberries in there. And that's what they look like after they've bleached their color. They kind of turn this light tan. It's crazy. That's normal. Don't freak out. So curiously enough, we ended up with exactly 1 US gallon.
128 ounces on the nose.
Crazy.
Wow, that smells incredible. It really does. So what we want to do now is we're going to start to taste alterations. And for that, we just pour a little sample. The fruit comes through very nicely. It's a little thin, but hydromels, not a lot of honey in there. Gonna be a little thin. But the flavor is actually really nice. It's a little light. It needs some substance.
All right, so one of the things that we thought about is like, okay, if we do want this to be carbonated, we could back sweeten with unfermentable sugar and then go ahead and use priming sugar, fermentable priming sugar, obviously, to create a natural carbonation, bottle it, do that thing. We would have to add yeast at that point because this is already pasteurized, so all the yeast that's in there are dead. D-E-A-D, dead.
D-E-D.
D-E-D, dead?
Yeah, D-E-D, dead.
So you just don't say the A. You don't spell it correctly. You spell it incorrectly. All right.
It's like Homer with smart.
Smart, right. I remember that one.
S-M-R-T.
All right. So that's one route. But because I thought strawberry banana, for some reason, the sparkling banana just seems weird to me. So I didn't want to go that route. My perspective on things, if you think that's awesome, then go for it. Do your thing. We could also sweeten it however way we want to, and then force carb it if we wanted to be carbonated, because then we wouldn't have to worry about if we're using a fermentable sugar or a non-fermentable sugar. But then we came to a conclusion of, wait, this is a hydromel, which is a mead. So we should have a nice little obvious punch of honey.
Yeah, I'm not getting any honey in it right now.
So we're going to back sweeten it with honey. A thing about back sweetening, and we've seen this recently and it really confused us, is that people were taking back sweetening as a mistake, and that you should add all the fermentable sugar up front. And I want to put a kibosh on that notion right now, because that's not a helpful mindset. Back sweetening is an adjustment to a flavor profile, and you won't know if it's necessary until you're done. Even if you ferment something, it doesn't necessarily mean that back sweetening is going to be necessary. I said that all wrong, but Brian has a point.
Well, we tend to like things sweet. There are times that we have gone with dry, but what I like is a control. By fermenting it dry and knowing it should go dry, which we have a video explaining how that works, if you do that, then it's up to you where it ends up, rather than trying to aim for overpowering it or overpowering the yeast or anything like that. What was happening is, like, say we do 3 pounds of honey in a brew, and then we added ½ pound in back sweetening. People are saying, oh, well, because you used 3.5 pounds of honey total, I'm just going to put that in up front. You're not going to get the same result. Not necessarily. You might not. You might stall. You might have a problem. Otherwise, you could get off flavors. You could get off odors, all sorts of things, because you might stress the yeast. That ½ pound could make a difference depending on the yeast, depending on the environment.
Your yeast could also ferment it out dry anyway, and you would still have to back sweeten.
And then you still have to back sweeten, but now you're talking a higher alcoholic beverage that's going to taste different.
Most of the times we start with our original gravity, or what our perspective, what we intend our original gravity to be, as a comfortable fermentable sugar range for the yeast, because we don't want to stress our yeast. We want our yeast to be happy, and we want them to do their job, which is to ferment our brew into alcohol. If we push the fermentable sugars at the very beginning, we can cause some problems, and that is one of our biggest concerns with hearing people saying, oh, I'm just going to add all the sugar at the beginning. Please don't do that. You may be causing a serious problem for yourself. Follow our recipes and listen to what we're saying, and hopefully all the different parts, because all these ratios play together and are so important. The fermentable sugars, the pH, the everything. It's all not just haphazardly put together. There's thought and purpose to each part.
It may seem like we're just chaotic beings going crazy, being silly, making brews, but there's actually a lot of thought behind what we're doing, and we do actually have a lot of preparation beforehand. Believe it or not. I want to say like Ripley's.
Ripley's.
Believe it or not. Ooh.
You getting the honey? Honey?
It changed it. It changed it.
Oh, yeah. Now it's like a dessert with the drizzled honey on top.
Now, so I know somebody's going to be like, well, how much honey did you put in? I don't know. About ½ pound, maybe? Not a lot. We're going to measure the gravity at the end so I can tell you more. What happened? Too much? Oh, she's happy. Okay. My thoughts on this. It's still a little watery. It needs more mouthfeel. That's bothering me. There's not enough. I actually think oaking this is a good idea.
Okay.
I wasn't going to go there, but I think it is. I'm also thinking a little acid is not a bad thing. This needs some brightness.
And because we're low on the ABV, a little acid might help stabilize it as well.
Yeah. Help to keep it, yeah.
All right, so are we doing...
I also think it needs a little more sweetness, though.
All right. If we're going to do the acid, are we doing acid blend?
Yeah, we're going to just use acid blend.
Okay.
So I'm just going to put in a little bit more honey. I don't think it needs a lot more sweetness, but it does need a touch more. More body is what happens from that. It still tastes kind of watery to me.
But it's a hydromel, and they tend to be watery just by nature, so...
It's barely a hydromel. It's like 8%, though. It's close.
It says it right there on the label.
What's in a name? Okay, so we have it racked. We have it sweetened a little bit. I think it's probably good on sweetness, but there's other things that need to be done. So one of them, we're going to add some wood.
Before we make those additions, why don't we go ahead and take a gravity reading so we can tell them how much we sweetened it.
Sure. I was just explaining what I did with the wood.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I chose just a medium char French oak, and it's sitting in boiling water to sanitize it and, you know, leach off some of the extra tannins. But this gravity reading will actually tell you about how much sugar we added to it.
And by sugar, we mean honey. Some people get confused. We say sugar in the brewing world is just fermentable sugars that comes from various sources. In this case, it's honey. Did not add a tremendous amount here. Looks like 1.022. So that puts it in it's a sweet mead. Not overly so, but pretty sweet. I think, see, I like strawberry and banana to have sweeter flavors. So that's probably where that comes from. The first thing that I want to add to it, though, is acid blend. And this is just North Mountain Supply acid blend. You can get this on Amazon or in your homebrew supply. And this is a mixture of malic acid, citric acid, and tartric acid. They say 1 teaspoon per gallon increases the acidity by 0.1%. So I'm going to start with half a teaspoon just to get an idea. Now, you might be wondering, why am I adding acid to this? We're adding it for that brightness, that little pop that acid gives. It gives a cleansing sensation. So sometimes if things feel dull, for lack of a better explanation, acid is going to enhance that flavor and make it more sharp. Sharp, bright, those are usually the things used to describe it. It also helps to preserve it a little bit. We have never used the commercially purchased acid blend as a flavor adjustment. Sometimes we've used citrus, particularly lemon. So playing it safe. This is new. This is a thing. So I'm playing it safe. Yeah. Wow. That woke it up a little bit. I think I could go a little bit more, though. I think strawberries need that little bit of an acid. Okay. So you agree. Yeah, the banana's coming through lovely. Oh, yeah. I'm going to do another half teaspoon. I'm always shocked at how lovely fermented banana beverages come out, because it's just not a pleasant experience while you're doing it. They're really weird. I mean, you're fermenting it looks like bananas. Something you'd throw away, not put in your body. Yeah. If you didn't want to use the acid blend, you could just add some lemon juice to this. Just be careful, because too much and it's going to start to taste weird. But you certainly can. I mean, it's like in cooking, you know, people use lemon juice to bring up the acid level, things like that. I suppose you could use vinegar, but I wouldn't, because this one's under 10%. So you might actually make vinegar. Vinegar? No, I would not. I would not. No. I also don't think the flavors would meld nicely. Why am I getting the baster? I don't need a baster. Don't need no stinking baster. Another thing that you possibly could add, Brian's probably going to be upset about this, is a strawberry lemonade, because that way you're going to get the acidic punch of both the strawberry and the lemon. I don't have a problem with that. That will, I think, blend nicely, since this is a strawberry beverage. That's perfect. It's got a lovely sweetness that the acidity level brought up to that sweetness level, balances out really, really nice now. Now it's a little watery. I want some more mouthfeel. I want a little bit of the vanilla pop to bring those flavors out a bit more. The wood is really going to do that. This is turning out to be a really, really cool All right, brew. So you have me sanitizing a true fermenter, but we intend to put wood in it. That's a problem. That is a problem. Well, guess what? Do I have to cut the wood in half? I don't think that's going to work. Suggestions? How wide is it? Is it a wide chunk? It's not super wide. Let's see if it'll fit. Okay, so here's the thing with these. You can get it in. But you're not going to get it out. I don't think you get it back out. So we're just going to use a wide mouth. Yeah. Be right back. We racked it. And we had this much left over. There was a tiny amount left. And I'm just going to take the wood out of the hot water. It's not that hot anymore, because it's been sitting there for about 5 or 10 minutes. And just drop it in there.
And that'll sit in there for probably about 2 weeks. Usually that's pretty good for oaking. Crank that on there good. We put it back under airlock just to be safe. In case we didn't kill all the yeast and it starts fermenting, we won't have an explosion. But we will monitor that. And we got all our notes added. And what we're going to do with it now?
I'm going to let it sit.
It's going to go back into fermentation station. Apparently I didn't put it where she wanted me to put it. So we need more tape.
It's all right. We'll take care of that.
But that doesn't matter. We'll do that off camera. And we'll see in about 2 seconds. All right, so it's been 2 weeks. This thing's been sitting on the French oak. But I do want to show you something first. It cleared. It got really, really nicely clear. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, I think you can see that it's really beautifully clear. Let me show you the bottom. There's like that moonscape thing going on. So that's all of our sediment that fell out after, I'm assuming we had to have pasteurized this because we used honey to sweeten it to 1.022. But yeah, that's just beautiful. See, you can see the oak is still in there. That's right, we pasteurized it when we put in the fruit, so then the honey went in afterwards, which is interesting because if the honey had wild yeast on it, it is possible to have fermented slightly, but I don't know, what ABV were we at? Because I didn't write that down. So let's see what we started at. We started at 1.052 minus 0.992 times, that's high enough, I'm gonna go with 135. Gives us 8.1%. It was at 1.004 after pasteurizing and a fruit addition, and we sweetened it to 1.022. You know what we need to do? We need to take a reading on this.
All right, let me get the equipment.
Okay, before we go much further, my hand was just dunked into star sand. I'm going to very gingerly grab the oak and pull it out. If anyone's worried about infection, that's about the least worrisome pull of wood you should worry. Wow, okay. Wow. That's about the least, I'm not even gonna go there. Don't worry about it.
Just take a reading.
It's all good.
Take a reading.
Okay, in there. Now, if you're wondering why I'm taking a reading, it is because there is a possibility that if the honey that we added had wild yeast that had sufficient gumption to do so, it may have been able to ferment in an already 8% brew after having been pasteurized. Pasteurization doesn't kill the sweetness or the fermentability, it kills the yeast, okay? That's important to know. We've been asked a lot recently, can you pasteurize then back sweeten? And yes, you certainly can. However, if you're using honey, you gotta be careful. And we were lucky, 1.022, didn't change at all. Nothing to worry about, so I don't even need to write that.
There was no gumption.
It had no gumption. All right, so let's just pour our samples. I should just drink from the test tube, but I'm not gonna need a little bit more for me. That's not much of a sample now, is it? All right, let's just put the lid on there just to keep it safe. Just came out of star sand, so it's all drippy. Okay, first thing I wanna say, it actually did clear quite nicely. There's the slightest amount of haze. Like if you look through the side of the glass, yeah, I can see haze, but from top to bottom, minimally. You don't see it. It's like a 9 on the clarity scale if you want to really give it a score.
The color's pretty.
Yeah, it's a very pretty color. On the smell, now this is strawberry banana.
It sure is.
Oh yeah.
Undeniably.
Yeah, so. Wow. The strawberry really has that like almost I want to say acidic punch to it. Yeah. And then the banana just is nice and soft. But I'm actually getting the vanillins from the oak coming through too. So far, I'm kind of impressed. Now we sweeten this to taste, 1.022. Yep. So it's considered, medium sweet. Let's go in for a try.
All right, do you recall back a little while ago, we were talking about how we pasteurized the fruit, so we didn't need to pasteurize it after back sweetening. Then Brian said, but wait, we packed the sweetens with honey, and the honey could have had natural yeasts, and it could re-ferment, and look what happened.
Yeah, let me show you its features. It's foamy.
See all those bubbles?
That's nuts. It was not there.
See how they keep making new baby bubbles?
Yeah.
To make more bubbles?
That's fermentation. That's what that is. So yeah, I went in to get this because we were supposed to do the final tasting right now. We're just going to give a score and be done, right? Yeah, I know. And that is something that I hadn't considered until fairly recently, that if you do back sweeten with honey and you have a lower ABV product and you do it after you pasteurize, it is possible. And apparently, here's your proof that it could restart fermentation. So, what do we have to do with this now?
Well, right now we're going to take a gravity reading to see just how much more fermentation actually did occur.
Yep. I'm seeing stuff krausen all the way up the sides. This thing got more active than I thought. So I'm thinking it fermented pretty strongly. It was a 1.022. So let's see what's at now. And yes, I'm aware had we back sweetened with like allulose or erythritol or something, this wouldn't have happened. But we also wouldn't have had the honey character. So there. Because this is actually going to add to the alcohol content of the brew as well. So that's not that it's critical, but it's something to be aware of.
It's bubbly.
It's very gassy, you know. Oh, wow. It actually went down to 0.994.
Oh, jeez.
Alrighty then.
So, I would like to say we did this on purpose to illustrate the problems of back sweetening after pasteurization.
But we didn't.
But we did it.
Okay, so I want to do some math here because this is technically a step feed now. So let's figure out where we're at. So we start at 1.052 minus our first ending gravity, 0.992, gives me 0.06. Right, so 0.060. And then at the end, we have an original gravity of 1.022.
And that's when we back sweeten to honey. That's what our level
So our
was.
secondary original gravity, yeah, minus today's gravity, 0.994. So that's another 0.028 in gravity. Now, 0.028 plus the 0.060 gives us 0.088. Multiply that by 135, and we have 11.88% in a hydromel.
So guess what?
Yeah.
I'm saying this ain't no hydromel no more.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna call it a hydromel because this is a good learning experience, even though it's not a hydromel. It's still fermenting. I can see bubbles coming up the side. So now what we need to do is it went totally dry again, which means the flavor is going to be different.
So we need to rack it to a pitcher because we have sediment again.
Yes.
And then we're going to have to back sweeten again to flavor.
Right.
And then we're going to have to pasteurize it.
So let's get to it. Strawberry banana hydromel continuation part 72.
All right, so when we were racking that, Brian made a good point. He said, hey, we could just re-sweeten it, back sweeten again to the original back sweetening. But then he had a secondary good point, and that was we have more alcohol now, which might mean we might need more or less back sweetening to balance out those flavors.
Do we have a tasting glass?
We do. Bing!
Oh, she's hiding them from me now. Yeah, I mean, we have more alcohol, so it's a considerable amount more. We were at 8% before, now we're at 11.8, so yeah, that could change everything. I don't even know anymore. We're just kind of going with the flow. We're going to make it taste good, and look at all the education you're getting here. Said it before, I'll say it again. Anybody that thinks our show is scripted.
Nope.
I mean, we knew this was re-fermenting, but that's it. We didn't know how much. I did not expect that it would have blown through all that extra honey that we put in. No way. And look at, we have nucleation happening. It's degassing itself.
Which is good.
Yes. So the risk of oxidizing this is pretty slim, basically, because it's still fermenting. Like, as we speak, it is fermenting right now. I don't know what's fermenting, but something in there still, I think it's just degassing at this point.
So yeah, once we get this flavored exactly the way we like it again, we are immediately going to do a bulk pasteurization of this entire jar. Now, we have a full video demonstrating that entire process. I'm going to make sure to link that in the description below, so that way if you would like to do that as well, which we strongly encourage you to do, you can follow along that video.
I would like to be more clear on something too. I do not want people to think that you cannot use honey and then pasteurize. You totally can. You have to use honey before you pasteurize. Now, sugar, any other sugar, like sugar, brown sugar, cane sugar, raw sugar, sugar in a raw, all those things, you could totally do those after pasteurization. No harm. They don't have yeast. Honey especially good honey, can have yeast in it. And that's what caused the problem. Because when you pasteurize, you don't kill the sugars, you kill the yeast. So we added more honey that could have had a wild yeast in it. It was just kind of a stair-step train of events that needed to happen. It's a snowball effect, if you will.
It's an unfortunate series of events.
I mean, it's kind of neat, actually, you know, but this is no longer a hydromel, which means now we actually have to make a hydromel.
Which we are bound and determined to do. We had a little conversation while we were racking it, and so that's going to be our next on the to-do list.
Will it be next? I don't know if it'll be next.
Well, we have 2 brews that are coming that we're going to start, and then after that...
Yeah, see, when you say next on the to-do list, that makes me think it's like the next thing we're going to do.
Next after the other things
Next after all the other things we're doing, yeah. Interesting. Definitely more alcohol, but also more fruity.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's more, the strawberry came more strawberry forward. Oh, we added acid blend and we oaked this too.
Oh, the acid should pop the strawberry.
I think the acid made it pop. You are right. The acid pop. Taken out of context, that could be a whole, look what she leaves me. Gotta have a taste. It's good. I think I'd like it a little sweeter.
Yeah.
But it's getting close.
Yeah. I
think I like it better now.
I'm not sad that it's no longer a hydromel.
No, it's...
I think I like this better as a mead.
Now it's strawberry banana mead. I don't think we ever did a strawberry banana mead, did we?
No,
we never did.
So
yay! Now we've done a strawberry banana hydromel and a strawberry banana mead in the same batch. So glad we didn't decide to carbonate this one.
Oh golly!
Well, it would have been in a keg, so I would have noticed something was up when the pressure shot up. But that's about it.
It would have been carbonated.
Oh yeah, it definitely would have been carbonated. You know, happy accidents. It's one of those things. Bob Ross always said that, and he wasn't wrong. I mean...
Oh, we're making a hydromel. Oh, look at that. It's a mead now. It's a happy little mead.
Yeah. I mean, the pluses to having the higher ABV is you need to drink less of it, and it'll preserve a little bit better. Though we've had ciders that we left for a year or more. Yeah. No problem. They actually taste really good after a year.
Yeah.
We don't usually do one-year tastings on ciders just because of possible preservation problems. But
in the nearest future, near-ish future, we do have a 1 year of one of our ciders on the books. Yep.
Really? Alrighty then. Okay. I think that's, hopefully that's mixed up. Nope. False alarm. Just kidding. But this is home brewing, you know? You start out with an idea, you may think this is exactly what I want. Okay, well, things change, you know? We're dealing with living beasties here. Yeast are a living thing. You never know what they're going to do.
And just like cats, they don't do what you tell them to do.
They don't, because they don't have ears.
They do what they want to do.
They don't have ears. They can't hear you. And I'm pretty sure they don't speak English.
Well, yeah, but that's where cats have ears.
I'm not saying they're like cats. You said that. This should probably be enough. Definitely get more honey character now. I think I want a little more. I think I want it sweeter.
I think it's sweeter.
There's like a youngness to this now. It's back to tasting young again, isn't it?
Mm.
It's got a nice overall brightness, and the oaking was helpful too. I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, it had that little touch of vanilla in there. Mm-hmm. That works really well with the
nice little pop
strawberry banana combo.
But I think I want this sweet now.
All right.
Well, the thing is, if you go sweet, oops, you gotta drip. All right, we're back. The thing is, when you go sweet, a lot of flavors will pop more. Like the banana is gonna really start to come out more. What?
Yeah, I agree.
And the strawberry, even though it's kicked up by the acid, I actually think sweetness helps with strawberries too. Nobody really describes strawberries as they're bitter or plain.
No.
It's usually a sweet, juicy strawberry. Even though, interestingly enough, they actually have very little sugar.
Yeah, they're very tart. If you really analyze their flavor profile,
berries in general are
tart
very
and sweet.
Yep, they're sweet tart.
Yeah, like me.
I wouldn't say you're so tart, though. Did I do it now?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go with yes. It'll mix in. The pasteurization process is wonderful for homogenizing a brew. I think that's a nice sweetness now. It's not overly sweet. Like I'm gonna bet it's probably not as sweet as we made it last time. Time to check before anybody freaks out. Yeah, I washed my finger again. People think that because we make cuts and wash things off screen that we're not, yeah.
You don't want to watch us washing things.
It's not really a lot of fun.
Or an empty set.
We're dunking it into star sand. I mean, really. Everything gets cleaned like 15 times. Guess what?
Yeah.
We went right to, we did go touch higher. But see, those bubbles are doing it too.
The degassing can cause some interference with your hydrometer readings, so it's a good thing to try to take that into consideration.
So yeah, we actually went to 1.024.
All right, so now we're going to put that sample back into our jar.
Fermenter.
Fermenter.
It's not just a jar.
Well, it is a jar.
No, it's not.
It's a jar.
The door is a jar.
It's not a door. It's a jar.
When we play D&D, every time there's a door, I'll always say, is it slightly open? And then I'll say, okay, the jar. It took a while for some people to figure out what I was saying. The door is a jar. Yeah, bad jokes.
What are we do now, babe?
We are going to pasteurize this. And by pasteurize, I mean we're going to bring the internal temperature to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a Celsius number that I'll put right here because I can never remember what it is, for 22 minutes. You keep it at that temperature for 22 minutes. Then we're going to remove it from the heat, the heated water, and it's going to cool. And then it's going to sit on the shelf. And we're going to make sure that it doesn't ferment again. If it does, we will be back to show you again how we do what we just did again. Or we might just say, we did it again. And now it's here.
But because we're pasteurizing it,
it's probably going to be fine. But we're going to do that, and then we'll be back to taste this in about 2 seconds. Okay, so it's been another week. So this has been a crazy ride. We pasteurized this yet again, and it did not show any more activity in the airlock. So it's time for its final tasting. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It smells good. And remember, this went up to almost 12% now.
Yeah.
So it's officially a mead. I mean, HYDROMEL is a mead too, but you know what I mean. Beautiful clarity. Just the slightest haze, but I mean, I wouldn't really even consider that haze.
It definitely looks like a mead color. I know that seems silly, but in the jar, it's getting more of its orange tones, but in the glass, it's just looking goldenrod. That color we like to...
it's like a 9.5 clarity.
It smells lovely.
Strawberry banana on the smell.
Strawberry banana honey.
Oh, the honey. Okay. The first whiff, I got strawberry banana was on the end. When I went in again, the honey comes through.
Yeah, and that was what was missing for me last time. So I'm really glad we went ahead and added more honey to this.
They seem to have melded together. It's almost creamy.
Mead.
It has a...
smells mead.
It really, this smells awesome.
All right, I'm going in because it's making me thirsty.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. It's got just enough sweetness to really bring out the flavors of the fruit.
It's got that sweet tart.
But it's, what did we sweeten to? 1.024. So it's a pretty sweet mead. It's not like over crazy sweet, but 1.024 is fairly sweet.
But I think we mentioned before that strawberries have that sharp tartness to them naturally, and then when you ferment them, it seems to really enhance that.
Oh yeah, they have a
tartness.
They have a piquant flavor. Is it piquant?
I have no idea, but it sounds nice.
Sounds good. Somebody's going to correct me. They always do. It's okay. A day without learning is not a good day. I don't know. I don't have a good saying for that. But this is nice. I'm actually not upset at all that it re-fermented last time, because I think this is better now than it was the first time we sweetened it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something evolved a little bit more. So this is a perfect example of a little bit more ethanol actually enhanced it.
Now I'm going to say something, and Brian's probably going to give me a look. Remember, initially, this was supposed to be a low ABV, and we thought it was going to be a sparkling thing, kind of like a cider, but
I thought it was going to be
HYDROMEL.
sparkling. She didn't.
And then when we got it together, and we started thinking about it, or at least I started thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know. The strawberry banana combo really doesn't read like it should be sparkling. And then when we tasted it before it decided to continue its little journey of fermentation, I was still in that mindset where, nope, this should be still the strawberry banana. All good. Well, now that it's higher ABV and I'm getting that little zing in my mouth, I'm thinking, oh, well, this could be sparkling.
It could. It could. I don't want to.
I don't want to either, but it's interesting how how it
evolved and changed.
When I tasted it before, I was still good with my choice of not carbonating it, but now it's like a different creation. Oh. And I could see it carbonated.
This is so nice, though.
Also see it chilled.
Chilled, I think this will be fabulous.
This would be fantastic chilled.
I also think in a year this is going to be absolute, like, gold in a glass. It has this lovely smoothness that fills your mouth, and it's just, it's so rich without being like, it's not like that thick, cloying thing. It's not like that at all. And
as weird as fermenting bananas is, and I will go to my dying breath that fermenting bananas is just weird.
Anymore.
It just creates this unique sensation, not only in the flavor, but in the texture. And creamy is the best word to use for that. Even though it's not a creamy beverage. Don't think that it's like slimy in the glass. No. It just creates this...
Gives a mouthfeel of creaminess.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed. I thought this was going to be nice when it was first fermented and sweetened, but the honey character really comes through so much more now than it did before. Now it speaks mead, where before it was almost like a strawberry banana wine.
So did we have a guess on the final ABV for this?
Yeah, this is somewhere in like 11 to 12%.
Okay.
By the time we diluted a little bit with some honey, it's like 11, 11 and a half, something like that. Which is perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. It's got just enough tartness with the strawberry. Give a little zing on the tongue.
Yeah. It's really nice. It's definitely reading to me strawberry banana mead. I'm getting strawberry, I'm getting banana, and I'm getting honey.
I'm even getting the little teeny tiny hint of the bitter note on the back of my throat that I haven't gotten in some of our meads lately.
But for some reason, it's working with tartness.
Oh yeah,
like it's not a discordant note. It's just part of the
bitter note is never discordant. It's always a part of it, but it's just an identifier to me. Like if I tasted a wine versus mead, if you had trouble telling, that note is like the identifier to know that it's mead.
This interesting thing happens when we do tastings, and we try to be as verbose as possible to give you all the identifiers of what we're getting in this experience. Verbose. And lots of times if we say anything that could be remotely taken as a negative, some people just go off the deep end and think, oh, you should just toss that.
Yeah. Don't ever think that way. We are literally trying to describe it as well as we can. And if there's anything negative, sometimes we're reaching to find it.
Yeah.
We have to describe it. I mean, that's all it is.
And we're doing the best that our enfeebled little brains can do.
She's going off of something that I said in a past video where I said it was dead in the mouth. And all I meant was it was a muted flavor.
Yeah.
It didn't mean, and I even said, I hate to use the term, but it's the best way to describe it.
But I can appreciate how you as a viewer, you're not here in the room with us. You're not sharing this lovely glass of mead.
We gave it like a 9 or a 7 or something.
And so maybe you convey or interpret what we're saying differently. And so I just wanted to throw it in there, and I didn't mean to go on this big old tangent about it.
This is good information. This is proper entertainment.
If you've seen any of our whiskey tastings, which
are they even still?
Are they still live? I don't even know.
I don't know. They might be. Well,
anyway,
at least one is.
we use terms like Band-Aid, tire, leather chair,
charcoal,
old book.
Yep.
Turpentine.
Burnt rubber.
Yeah. And like all of those descriptors are good.
They're positive things.
It's like, oh, I have notes on Band-Aid. When is that a good thing? It just is. It just is.
I don't know. When you were a kid, didn't you ever smell your Band-Aid if you cut your, that's what it's reminiscent of.
So
we have gone off the rails.
We have, but if we give any of our beverages over a 5 rating,
that means it's good.
It is not a failure, regardless of what words we use to describe it. It is not a failure.
If it's below a 5, yeah, I would consider that more or less a failure.
Then you certainly need some improvement. All right, so I've derailed that enough. Let's get to the numbers. I think we're ready for that, right?
Sure.
So the first one is repeatability.
It's like a 5.
Yeah,
because we didn't. Okay, now this is okay. To get it to the point that we got it to, it's a 5. To get it to where we got it to before we had to redo it, repasteurize, is a 10. Because all you'd have to do is pasteurize, then add the honey to it. Would have been fine.
Add the honey, then pasteurize.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, what she said.
Don't do what he says, do what he means. But
they know what I meant.
Regardless of that mishap, I'm glad that it happened. And
we got to show you.
That we recorded it and shared it with you. So that way you understand the difference between when to pasteurize versus when to back sweeten and why it's important.
Something else about pasteurization. This has come up in our VIP recently. Some people were talking about pasteurizing. There's apparently some confusion about temperatures and times and things like that. 140 Fahrenheit internal temperature of the brew itself for 22 minutes pasteurizes to the appropriate amount. Now, you can go higher, but that means you need less time. But the reason we don't go higher is thermal shock can be a real problem. The breaking of glass is a real problem. So the higher you go with that, the more likely it is to be a failure, okay? So that's why we go to 140, because that's like the bare minimum. I mean, you can, in theory, go longer at lower temperatures, but it's best. This way, you get the least amount of change of flavor and the most safety, because it's the least amount of time and all that kind of, it's like the,
it's the
Goldilocks. Exactly. It's not too long. It's just, trust me on this. Do it the way we've said to do it.
That said, we do have in the works for future Derek and Brian to do a test on some different times and temperatures to see if there's a flavor difference.
Right. Also, another thing that we've said it, and we may have put too fine a point on it, and some people have taken it as gospel, that it ages it. No, it does not age the mead in any way. It gives some of the components of something that's been sitting for a while. So it does give sort of an aged feel, but it does not actually age.
The only thing that ages something is time.
It's time, yeah.
That's it.
So it sort of sometimes mellows flavors, but that's about it. It doesn't even always do that. It doesn't always clear either.
No.
We had it clear several in a row, and then
so we're like, oh, that's great. And
most it really doesn't.
And then it's like, haha, you put that out there, so no, we're not going to do that for you.
Yeah, so fun.
All right. So
also, whoa, there's more.
But wait.
You do not lose alcohol if you pasteurize. If you boiled it for hours in an open pot, you'll lose some.
Now, we did have the misconception that heating it open, that the alcohol is just going to go right out of it. Well, we actually had a chemist contact us and say, hey, here's the actual science to that. And we're like, thank you for sharing that important little bit of information.
I pasteurized it, as you see here, airlock on it and the whole thing. And when it comes out of the hot water, all we do is we make sure to pull the airlock out every once in a while so that it doesn't backsplash.
Right, because when it starts to cool down, it's going to create reverse pressure and
you will see bubbling. You will see airlock activity while it's pasteurizing. It's because there's gases in there that are coming out, plus it's expanding. Yeah. It's just, that's the way it works. So don't freak out and don't worry about it. Pasteurizing, I mean, here's the thing. We've been pasteurizing brews for a long time. We have lost one bottle, and it was a weak piece of crap glass bottle that I didn't like anyway, but that's not why it broke. It broke because I think they were bouncing around.
Yeah, we didn't do the safety.
We didn't have it set up. There was an actual bottle, like a 1 liter bottle, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and it was before sous vide, right?
We weren't sous videing yet. Yeah. It was, so in all the times that we've done it, we lost one bottle. So don't be worried that you're going to, no.
All right, so now we have to get back on track to how do you feel personally about this?
All right, let me go over our scoring system. It's 1 through 10 with the occasional 11. I need more. Let me pour some while I explain this.
For science.
Yes, give me your glass, please, because I know you want more too. So it's 1 through 10 with the occasional 11. 1 is basically, we're going to dump it. I mean, we're going to tell you all the stuff that's wrong with it and what we don't like about it, and then we're going to dump it as soon as we get off camera. Whoops. Up to a 5 is varying levels of going to dump it to, it's there, I'll drink it. Not my favorite thing.
It'll be good for a mixer.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice, but you know, yeah, it's tolerable. If somebody poured it for me, I'm not going to turn it away. From 5 to 10 is, now this is starting to get pretty good. All the way to 10 is, I know I want that one. I haven't seen it yet. I know it's on the shelf. I want it. 11 is, I wanted it last week and I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Most of my top shelf back here is all my high profile.
Right. Anyway, so that's our scoring system. You'll notice we're using the Glencairns again for tastings. I think this is the most appropriate for tasting. It's going to give us all the aromas, all the smells, and it gives a more consistent flavor profile across the board.
We looked for larger Glencairns. We could not find any.
If anybody can source them for me, let me know.
We do have some friends, Jeff and Jenny, hi guys, who miraculously found some at like Buck Lindsay's or something like that, some department store.
Like a Marshall's kind of thing.
Yeah, a department store.
This is so good.
We can't find them.
We went looking the other day. I couldn't find them.
We did find larger versions, not full on brandy snifters because those are huge, but like
yeah, we have like little cognac glasses.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
I like those.
And those work really well. They will be highlighted on the upcoming Instagram posts for City Steading Brews. Anyway, what's our number?
Okay, this is a tough one for me. All right, I have a number. Are you ready?
Go away. Go away. Go away. Go away.
Cat intrusion. Do you have a number?
I am conflicted.
Got to give a number. 1, 2, 3, 9.5.
I was bouncing all over with my numbers. I landed
so why are you so low?
I landed on 8 because I have been drinking an awful lot of Glühwein recently. So I'm like on the mold.
Which we did a couple weeks ago.
Wine.
You would have seen it. It hasn't actually come out as of the time that we're recording this, but by the time you see this, it'll have come out.
So I'm just like permanently spiced wine in the brain. And so this is obviously not a spiced wine. It was never meant to be. This is more of a
it's not even a wine, technically. Summertime
drink.
Yeah.
And I'm not there. I guess I'm being a basic. I hate that term.
I was going to go 10. Because to me, this is about as good as I can expect a strawberry banana mead to be.
Sure. If somebody said, what should a strawberry banana mead taste like? I would say, it should taste like this.
This is it. Now, this is a basic version. You can go all kinds of crazy. We could have added spices and herbs and stuff to it and changed it all kinds of ways. This is great as it is, okay? You can expand it if you want to. I don't think you should for the first time making it. I think you should make it just like this, and then maybe if you want to alter the flavors, do so. But I did not go 10 for the simple reason that I feel the strawberry tartness is that much too much.
It is a little pronounced.
Just that much.
Which puts this, and this is a categorization thing that we haven't talked about in a while, I don't think, where I talk about what category would I put this in.
This is a dessert wine.
Would it be a sipper? Would it be with a meal? Would it be an intellectual? Or would it be a dessert wine?
It's a before or an after.
For me, it's a combination of all those things. And that's really unusual because normally I'm like, nope, this is the category I'm putting you in.
I would not drink this with food.
I think this would be delightful with like some dessert type things, like a bready.
With dessert, that's different. But I mean, like,
like a cake. You don't like cake. You're not a cake guy. So
but I'm not going to sit down to a plate of pasta and have this.
But like strawberry shortcake in this would be.
But that's dessert.
That would be awesome.
It's dessert wine.
A salad with fruit, raspberry vinaigrette kind of scenario. Sure. I think this would be lovely with that. A cheese plate, for example, or a fruit plate, or a cheese and fruit plate.
But now you're getting into desserts and aperitifs again.
Right, but that's still food. And it's still pairing it with the flavors and the textures of the food.
You're right.
Semantics, I know, and it's painful for you, but I digress. But also, I enjoy thinking about this one.
Yeah, this is an experience.
I didn't think, that I would think about strawberry banana mead.
There's a lot of complexity, a lot of layers.
There's a lot of things going on there with the interplay of the honey notes, and then that sharpness of the strawberry that is pronounced with a little bit of alcohol punch.
That creaminess
and
of
then
the banana.
Creaminess of the banana. Yeah.
Brings it all together. It really just melds it beautifully.
It's really interesting intellectually to think about all those different components.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just want a hot mulled wine right now. So that's the only reason why I gave it the low score of 8.
We're just going to call her score a 9. Because she's in the mood.
That's why I'm laughing at my low score of 8, because it still is a damn good score.
But literally, the only thing that held it back for me was that teeny tiny bit of tartness on the strawberry that was just a little too much. I mean, it was just slightly more pronounced. And I'm being very specific in my words so that no one says, oh, it's crap, throw it away. No, it's just the strawberry was a little bit more pronounced than I would prefer. Some people will taste this and go, Bri, what are you talking about? There isn't enough strawberry.
Right.
That's a possibility. And everybody has their own bias. And that's why our scores are just our scores. They're not really set in stone. There's no standard.
Yeah.
I could taste this again next week and go, this is a 7. What was I thinking?
Now, my cocktail brain is going crazy right now. I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of reminding me of
You're going to mix this with Cointreau, aren't you?
A mimosa profile with like champagne and maybe some orange juice in there with the strawberry and banana would be.
Meanwhile, I would just chill
cool.
it, put it in a glass, and drink it. That's my cocktail.
All right.
A glass and a liquid. It's multi-part. It's a cocktail.
Anyway, if you have any questions on this brew, please leave them in the comment section below, and Brian will make sure to get to you as soon as he possibly humanly can.
And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.